So the Springboks got themselves another win last week up against the Italians, and now the next challenge, some would say the biggest of the November internationals, up against Ireland. The Springboks side, they have faced some adversity throughout the last little while. Another red card in the early stages, a permanent red card. Now, I will mention at this stage, we don't know the extent of what Franco Mostert is dealing with, whether or not it is a suspension or whether it is going to be rescinded, although the chances of that happening, as we have learned, is very slim at the moment for the Boks. But of course, we have got Vic from Vic and Vern Sports Chat back again for another lineup prediction. But first off, mate, that red card, what was your first initial feeling when seeing it?
Not again.
Fair enough.
No, look, like I've said, I watched the game live, and then you are in your emotional stage as a Springbok fan, and I thought, bloody hell, cheaters, everybody's against us. And then I watched it again a few hours later and on the couch, and I thought, if you're giving the ref that opportunity or he has to make a decision, and if I'm looking at it from an Italian point of view, if it was the other way around, we must probably be saying, hey, that's got to be red. I just think the inconsistencies get to me. Look, he's going to get 4 games as well. You can't. How can you give him less than you gave Lut Diaka? So I think it's going to be 4 games. I think it's a yellow-red card. First yellow and then red.
Okay.
But I know. I'm going to get slated on your channel again. I know it. It is what it is. But you've got to be objective, man.
Yeah. See, I look at that one and I felt like yellow at most for Franco Mostert. The unfortunate nature of it was the fact that he was actually in the process of getting ready to make a tackle as his teammate made the tackle on Paulo Garbisi, so that kind of forced him in more. But either way, discipline is going to be so important in this game, because with it being watched under the microscope, it means that any sort of little decision that could go against a side in these November internationals, so far we have seen that they will. But we should mention Rassie's team. It is going to look very different from what we saw up against the Italians. He is going to make wholesale changes being announced on Thursday. So plenty of time for any injuries or any suspensions to be handed out beforehand. But we will jump straight into it. Front row for yourself. Who do you see Rassie going with for this game up against the Irish?
Well, I'm not going to go as crazy as I did last week. So I'm going to go Thomas du Toit, Malcolm Marx, Wilco Louw.
Oh, that's still a little bit crazy in some regards, though. The fact that Thomas du Toit going onto that loosehead side, of course, hasn't played a huge amount there this year.
I just think that's the one. I was looking at a lot of the games that, I was looking back at all the other games. I mean, yes, you could go Juan Fenta, Malcolm Marx, Wilco Louw, but I think it's going to be Thomas du Toit. I don't even have Juan Fenta in the team this week.
Well, to be fair, Rassie has taken him off early twice now in a row. He's only been given that first kind of 20 minutes or so to show what he can do. And of course, that red card early on, it did affect how much time he got in the game up against the Italians due to those couple little changes that they did have to make. I feel like the player who felt it the most was Ben Jason Dixon. The fact that he just made his way back in and then got taken off within 12 minutes.
That's tough, man. That was tough. He gets a chance. I mean, even Rassie in his post-game news conference said he feels less for the player that gets the red card, but more for the changes that he had to make afterwards. Sia again, of course, Ben Jason Dixon. Yeah, that hurts. I felt for him, but we'll see. We'll see what he comes up with.
And Zachary Porthen, of course, also getting taken off relatively early for the youngster in that game up against the Italians. But for myself, compared to yourself, I've actually got 2 changes in the front row that I feel Rassie is going to go with. For myself, I've gone Boan Fenta as the number 1. I feel like Rassie, I want to say he does rate Boan Fenta a little bit, but it's just been circumstantial in this scenario. That hasn't meant that he's been allowed to have that full opportunity. I do still see Gerhard Stennekamp as that man to make his way off the bench to go alongside Wilco Louw. Now, I got called out a little bit on the last lineup prediction because I keep on wanting to start Wilco Louw, and I keep on getting told that Rassie will not start him. Now, I bet you because I've got him off the bench this game, this is when we are going to see Wilco Louw on the starting lineup. But I've decided to make that switch. I've gone Malcolm Marx number 2, and at number 3, I am starting Thomas du Toit in this matchup. So no Zachary Porthen for myself. In terms of trying to put together a strong scrummaging duo for the start, Boan Fenta and Thomas du Toit would be quite a nice matchup. It keeps the Bulls guys together off the bench, including Johan Krobela in that number 16 jersey. So it's a bit different from what we saw up against the Italians, but I don't think it's going to be a mile away from what Rassie would try in this game up against the Irish. But we will move on to the locking duo. I'm going Ebenezer number 4 for myself in Rassie's prediction and Ruan Nokia as the number 5. I don't think we're going to see Franco Mostert feature in this game. We know that Ludiacha is unavailable. Also, Jean Klein didn't really do a huge amount wrong in that game up against the Italians, but I don't see him playing in this game. I think we're going to see Ebenezer starting alongside Nokia, and then, of course, Aries Neyman once again getting that spot off the bench.
100% agree. I've got the same lineup.
Moving on to the loose forward trio. For yourself, I feel like there are 3 choices that should be made by Rassie in this one. It's pretty clear cut, isn't it?
I think it's Siya Kolisi, Peter Steph de Toy, and Jasper Visser. So I can't see anything else but those 3 playing. If those 3 don't start, then it'll be a big surprise for me.
And probably only injury-based would be the only thing that stops any of those 3 from starting. Although Siya Kolisi playing in that last game up against the Italians, that was a bit of a surprise for a lot of people. We thought maybe he would be rested for that matchup, although with the fact that they did not have Jesse Creel or Eben Etzebeth, it made sense that they needed someone to have that leadership role in that contest. But just like yourself, I've gone Siya Kolisi, Peter Steph de Toy, and Jasper Visser. Visser up against the Irish is a dangerous combination. Now, we say it each and every week. He is so physical. He is aggressive. He is just an absolute battering ram. But I'll be honest, if any of the Springboks are getting a card up against Ireland in this game, it is him.
It's probably him.
He's going to break the chain of locks getting reds, and he's going to get one himself if someone was to. And I feel like there would be no debate as to whether or not it's a permanent red when Jasper Visser's in town. But if he gets that physicality right, boy, he's going to be a game changer in the contest. And I'm actually going to say if he doesn't get carded, he's going to be man of the match up against Ireland. This is just the type of game that he's going to absolutely love.
He loves them. He loves those. That you know, because the Irish are a physical bunch as well. And no, I'll go with you as well there. I would, if I had to go now already for a man of the match, I still think Peter Steph de Toy could do some damage.
He's always going to give you about an 8 or a 9, isn't he?
Exactly.
Peter Steph de Toy. And sometimes he gets that 10 out of 10. Just ask the All Blacks in that World Cup final. But there's no weak links in the Springbok side at the moment, I feel. Rassie has built up the depth pretty much perfectly. And, you know, you look through this back line, it's almost set in stone, and they can change a few players, and it is still extremely competitive. The only question mark for me at the moment, if I had to pick one in the Springbok side, is probably the props, just because of the fact that they've got Gerhard Stennekamp as well as Wilco Low, who are more than capable enough of starting, but they do like to use them as that impact off of the bench. But with the injury of Oxnashare, you do just spot that gap at loose head, don't you, in terms of that maybe one position that's the problem?
Ox is the clear number 1. Yeah, he is the clear number 1. And then you know, Boone Fenter, I like him, but he doesn't get he doesn't get to play a lot under Rassie. He uses him 40 minutes. He's gone. 45 minutes, he's gone. So he's never, I don't think he's ever hit 60 minutes or 65 minutes in the Springboks.
No, well, he hasn't even hit 40 minutes in his last 2 games almost. He keeps getting taken off too early. No,
but look, the good thing is this shows how well Rassie's built the depth, because you lose 2 locks and we still have 3 world-class locks on this team sheet, at least, you know.
And Jean Klein sitting off to the side, not doing anything wrong.
There you go. So I think you got to give it to the man. I mean, look, we did some crazy predictions last week, and then when his team came out, it was like people like, okay, he's only got a 1 hook, and he's not even got a hooker reserve. I mean, I went with 3 hookers, and then everybody was like, ooh, and then Rassie goes with 1 hooker. I mean, you know, he doesn't even have a replacement basically. So yeah, you got to trust the man. You just got to trust. Kind of what we talked about before in New Zealand. Everybody's calling for razor's head. Trust the process, man. Give the guy some leeway. And Rassie, anybody that questions Rassie, mental asylum for them.
Well, the problem is you can question him 1 week, and then a side can go out the next and beat a side by 50 points.
There you go.
And that's the tricky part, you know. We just have to look at the Rugby Championship. First match up against the Australians, a brilliant lead turned into a loss, and then people were already calling for some big change to be made. And then from there, winning the Rugby Championship for the South Africans back-to-back to go alongside those back-to-back World Cups as well. But we're moving on to the back line now. For myself, number 9, I believe Rassie's going to select Kobus Reinach for this contest, and number 10, Sasha Feinberg. Zulu, Andre Pollard, he got his kicks over up against the Italians. He's still, I don't think, offered as much on attack as these two young players, which is absolutely fine because the Springboks won comfortably, and that's where it's so tricky at the moment, because straight away when you say that about Andre Pollard, people think you're bashing him and you're talking smack about him, but he's just a different type of player. You know, there are certain opposition that favour having a Andre Pollard out there on the field. And there are also opposition that if you can put Sasha or Mani in that 10 jersey, you will cut them open and make them bleed. That sounded a bit graphic, but that is what Sasha and Kobus have the ability to do in this contest, if they get it right.
I've got exactly the same starting 9 and 10s, Kobus and Sasha. I've got to say one thing about Pollard. I mean, I think we would have lost the game on Saturday, didn't we, if we didn't have Pollard? Because that game, the way with the red card coming early and the kicking and stuff like that, he kept us in the game really early with all his good kicks. I don't think Sasha or Mani would have made all those kicks. So it was actually, can you say Rassie lucked in, but it was the right game for Andre Pollard to be in. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, take him out and bring Mani to do the damage, the rest of it. No, definitely. Kobus will start for me, Sasha as well, 100%. I can't see a change on that position either.
And once again, Morne van den Berg, he had some decent moments throughout that contest. And it seems to be, at the moment, Rassie's got his 3 combinations, which once again, not many sides in international rugby can say that. At the moment, it is Morne van den Berg and Andre Pollard as one duo, Grant Williams and Mani Libbok as another, and then Sasha alongside Kobus Reinach as the third. Like, those are all more than capable combinations in any sort of lineup. And the fact that you can chop and change the back line alongside that, and it just keeps the opposition guessing. Rassie no longer going with those early team announcements. He's saying, boys, we're going to announce the team and you've got 48 hours to try and work us out rather than the 72 or so that we've been seeing beforehand. So I think it's going to take a lot longer than 48 hours to work out this Kobus and Sasha combo alongside the rest of the backline that Rassie's going to select. But I'll be honest, if any side at the moment would be able to do it with the structure and the way that they have played throughout the last couple of years, I think Ireland's going to be the toughest test for South Africa here. And I know that gets controversial because the rivalry has got very personal between those two sides. But honestly, the reason that rivalry is so personal is because the two sides have been just so competitive throughout the last little while.
I mean, the last time we played them, we lost. That was in July last year. In Kings Park, we lost that game. I mean, at home, that doesn't always help. But now Ireland is kind of, like I always say, Ireland is the team that matches up the best against us. They got good pack players. They've got the backline, good scrum offs. They match up really well against South Africa, where other teams just don't do that as well. I'm not saying Ireland's the second best team in the world. New Zealanders and English don't jump on me. I'm just saying they match up very well against South Africa. When they like playing against the Springboks. You can see that they like playing against us. They feel confident when they play against the Springboks, and they've got great players, man. They've got fantastic players.
There are so many set players in that Irish lineup as well, and I do think that comparing it to Rassie's team here, we will see the similarities of what you'd expect to be the strongest team.
Yeah.
You know, the likes of Eben Etzebeth, he's locked in. Malcolm Marks for the Irish. If Dan Sheehan's not injured, you've got him in that number 2 jersey, and then that locking duo, Tyke Byrne type of player that you'd see in there. Josh van der Flair, Caelan Doris, Jack Conan, and the loose forward trio. Like, there are so many great options. Gibson Park at 9, going up against Reinach here, a little bit of a veteran battle. Like, it's just exciting. And I've mentioned about it multiple times. I hope this match does deliver, because there is a chance that, you know, when you see two great sides go head-to-head, sometimes it just fizzles, doesn't it? You know, the weather could be rainy and it could be a low-scoring game with a whole heap of errors, or we may just get match of the year when these two sides go head-to-head, and I hope it's the second one.
I hope so as well. I'm so glad, I mean, to see Doris back again. He had a long injury layoff, and I'm glad to see him back. I mean, look, one of my favorite players that's not a Springbok, James Lowe. I've got to say something controversial. If there's one player that I could take from Ireland and give him to the Springboks, it would be James Lowe.
That is controversial.
Yeah, that's
Very
my,
controversial.
not just, I'm not saying he must start ahead of Curtly Arvidsson. Just relax, everybody. I'm just saying he's a player I really like. I like him a lot. I think and at the moment, maybe one of the hookers we could take as well, because we're a little bit short of hookers at the moment.
Although Bongi back into the squad, you did pick him in the
back in
lineup
the
last
squad.
week,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
when
yeah,
he
yeah.
wasn't in the squad. So maybe this week he's got a bit of a crack. I would say that I wouldn't mind James Lowe playing for New Zealand, but I feel like that gets a little bit controversial with us Kiwis when we say that, knowing his origins and,
Yeah, of course,
and what initially was the case with Lowe. But we will move on to the centres now for the Springboks. For myself, in that midfield combination, it doesn't matter who I have because it's your turn first. Who have you got in these two positions?
Of course, I'm going with the old boys. I'm going with Damien Delinda and Jesse Krill.
Okay. So going with the veterans, the two who did do very well up against the French.
Yeah. I mean,
for the defence.
Yeah. Look, the other two boys did beautiful. I mean, Ethan Hooker and Kanan Moody were fantastic on the weekend. And if Rassie puts them in, I have no problem with it. Because, guys, remember, this is what we think Rassie's going to do, not what I would do. I think it's Delinda Krill. But listen here, I don't care if it's Kanan Moody and Ethan Hooker. I don't care. I think they're on the same level. And, hey, the latter two, obviously, that's our future. So we've kind of got what's now, Krill and Delinda, and then the future looks very bright with the other two. So I'm not worried at all. Any of the four, and I'm happy.
Okay, so you've just said there and you've clarified that we are doing Rassie's prediction. Now I have to ask the question, who's your midfield combo for this match up against Ireland?
I would also go Delinda Krill. But everybody knows Damien's my favorite Springbok.
Yeah,
he is my favorite Springbok. I would still pick him if he's 60, man, because I think the guy's just fantastic. He's fantastic, and I do think against Ireland we'll go with that experience. I think the whole team will have a lot of experience in the team this week. And against Wales, then we'll see something totally. I think Wales is going to be the wackiest lineup of the lot.
Yeah. A little bit similar to what we saw up against the Italians, perhaps,
yeah,
with a lot
I think
of chopping and
wackier,
changing.
but we'll see.
More wackier than Arias Neyman as a number 18.
Yes, I think Rassie's going to go. Because let's be honest, we've got to take every opponent seriously. Wales coming off a win. I mean, that was Wales' first home win in 800 days. So, they're going to be up for it. I think he has got one eye also maybe on the teams that are playing in the URC. I think, because on that weekend, the URC is also back again. So I think we'll see a lot of changes, yeah.
So for myself, I've also got the two changes in that midfield combination compared to last week. Damien Delinda at 12, Jesse Krill number 13. I wouldn't be surprised if they chuck Kanan Moody in as that 13 option here, if they do want to go with him rather than Krill. I have a little bit of a controversial take. I think Ethan Hook is better out on the wing than he is in the centres, to be honest. I feel like at number 12, they have so many great options. Damien Delinda, Damien Valimza, Andre Estes, and I don't think you need to play Ethan Hooker as a number 12. He is completely fine out on that left wing, and in fact, he could push Curtly Arvidsson for that number 11 jersey heading into this match up against the Irish. They may look for a little bit of a switch there, but him at 12, don't get me wrong, he did some things right, but he seems more dangerous when he's got that space on the outside to be able to really show off what he's able to do.
Funny you say that, because I was listening to the interview from Rassie, where Rassie says, he spoke to the players, and Ethan Hooker says his favorite position that he wants to play in is the 12, which, which is kind of crazy, because as you say, he plays very well on the wings as well. Wings and centers, you can interchange a lot there. It's not as difficult as, putting a scrum off as a fly half or something like that. That's a different story. But the wings and the centers you can interchange. And Ethan Hooker is a hybrid player as well. He can play a lot of positions. Yeah.
Kanan Moody, perfect example of that. The fact that he can play outside centre as well as starting his Springboks season out on the wing. But we will move on to those wingers now. For myself, I've got number 11, Curtly Arvidsson. I didn't go with Ethan Hooker out on that left wing side, but I think they'll go back to Arvidsson in this matchup. Now, someone who would be very unlucky to miss out in this lineup is Edward van der Merwe.
Yes.
I once again felt like he was another player who was a bit unlucky because of when he had to go off the field. He was brilliant under the high ball, actually doing much better than almost anyone out there on the field. So for that alone, I'd probably stick him in there up against the Irish. But I've gone Curtly Arvidsson, Cheslin Colby out on the right wing. Of course, you've got to go with the veteran Colby in this type of matchup, going head-to-head with James Lowe. So a bit of a size discrepancy there, but as we've seen, that doesn't seem to faze Cheslin Kolbe whatsoever. No. And then number 15, Damian Valimza. He had a very solid game up against the Italians in such a broken, scrappy, ugly type of match for the early stages. Valimza, his brilliance in defence, I think, was really what made him the man of the match for myself. Don't get me wrong, he had some great moments on attack, but covering those little chips and grubbers that we saw from the Italians. And the thing is, they did become repetitive. The Italians did that about 6 times. When they finally got into the 22, they just boot the ball away, and every single time, Damian Valimza was thereabouts, ready to take that ball and ready to kind of just get the Springboks out of trouble. So up against the Irish, we're going to see a lot of the long kick from James Lowe, I would be thinking. So Damian Valimza with that cover defence, I'd certainly put him at 15.
Look, I've got exactly the same 3. I mean, Valimza was man of the match. I mean, how many times you're talking about the kicks into the 22? I mean, he was just phenomenal. He was everywhere. For me, he's nailing that number 15 spot down at the moment. He's taking his opportunity. He's out at the moment. And I think Valimza is just doing a sensational job. And I mean, and people forget he's a 2-time world champion already. And he's only 27. He's very young still for a rugby player. So, now I love him. I think he's a good, even though he plays for the Stormers. Got to come to the Sharks, my friend. No, I got the same 3. I think that's, I mean, if we go back to the France game, I think that's the exact same lineup as that we went against the French, didn't we?
Yeah, I think our only changes that we've got at the moment is the
props. On the props, yeah. That's the only thing. Otherwise, it's the exact same team that went against the French. I think we win if we don't get any if we don't get any red cards. I think we can do a good job. I don't think we beat Ireland if we go down to 14. I think that'd be a tough one. I mean, I'd never bet against the Springboks, but 3rd game in a row going down to 14. Okay, if it's the last 10 minutes, maybe. But if it's again, I mean, this was an early red card. What is it, 12 minutes? Yeah, we can't have that against the Irish.
See, I'm of the mindset, though, at the moment, it seems like the cards are firing up the Springboks. And it just seems to make them angry. So I would almost argue that with the amount of time that they have been practicing with 14 men, I think that they might be fine in this contest. And the thing is, Ireland, they have had their own red card troubles throughout the November International. Yeah. So honestly, if there was ever going to be a game in this November Internationals period where it's 13 on 13, it's this game. You know, we could see many different cards, and hopefully, I do see that it's Matthew Carley in charge of it, the English referee, and he's normally not too bad when it comes to harshness of penalties and whatnot. So I do hope that we can avoid that sort of situation. But overall, these 15 players, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Ireland's 15 too. I do think that we're going to be very close with the selections here. Unless, of course, guess what? Rassie decides to go with that massive change and goes with maybe Ethan Hooker out on the wing, puts Andre Esterhuizen perhaps in the starting lineup, or moves Valimza to 12, Cheslin Kolbe to fullback. It could all happen in Rassie's lineup. You just never know.
I think you're close to getting 15 out of 15 because you got Bourne Fenter starting, but one of us is going to be very close to be 15 out of 15. I can see that happening. I can't see major changes in this team that we've just announced, that we think, and we are thinking what Rassie's going to do, which is normally impossible. But no, I think my problem, I didn't have a problem with the starting lineup. I had more of a problem putting out a bench there because you've got to leave so many good players out. So, I mean, we've just said the Linda and Creel are starting. So what does that mean? I can't put Hooker and Kane and Moody in the squad. I haven't got both. I've got none of them in the squad. You know what I mean? You've got a, it's tough, man. It's nice as a coach if you're spoiled for these differences. I mean, he's just spoiled. He can choose from a beautiful amount of players. He has so much choices to make. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, well, the fact that someone like a Jean Klein, like we mentioned, isn't going to be featuring in this contest, the chances of Bongi or Manambi being in there could be quite slim as well. So, you know, you've got great players sitting on the sidelines waiting for that opportunity. But the best thing is, you know they're going to get it. Wales, just around the corner. More than likely, we're going to see all of the guys who didn't play in this match playing in that contest, still getting some sort of minutes in that regard. But moving on to the bench now. For yourself, who are your front row replacements in this contest?
See, I first I thought, okay, is he going to have 3 front row replacements? But now last week he only put in 2. But I think this week we're going to have 3 again because it is Ireland. So I'm going Juan Venter, Johan Grobler, and Steenekamp.
See, you're doing it again. You're getting me thinking about your front row. You got 2 loose heads, and I assume the reason behind that is because you've got Thomas du Toit as your loose head starting, so you're going to move him to tight head.
Yes, I think I just got a funny feeling that somewhere there's always a spanner or a wrench that's get thrown into the engine by Rassie, and I think it's there. But you got to have. Look, you've got to have Johan Grobler there. I would actually like to take one of them out and say we're only going to use 2 of them because I think Malcolm Marx is a player that probably would play 80 minutes in any case. So, yeah, I might. You get me going again, man.
I'm just saving you from the comment section, mate.
No, okay, I'm going different. I'm going Juan Venter and Johan Grobler. Steenekamp's not playing. There you go.
So now you just got the 2. So 2, you got a hooker and a prop. Is that what
I got a hooker and a prop?
No Klabakanye, no Ntutuku Machunu.
No Mbongi. I don't have none of these people in it. No.
Okay. Well, now I'm curious to see what the rest of your bench looks like. I will mention I've gone a little bit more stock standard in my selection. I've gone Johan Grobler, number 16, number 17, Gerhard Steenekamp, and number 18, Wilco Low. Sticking with all the Bulls guys, I think there's a decent chance that happens in this scenario. Definitely if Wilco Low doesn't start, although I'm going to be kicking myself because I've put him in the starting lineup each and every time. And like I said, I got told off and people said he never starts and he does like that slower build later on in the contest. But overall, I think that having that cohesion of the Bulls is very handy. Johan Grobler, for me, was a bit of an, I don't want to say unsung hero because that sounds a little bit maybe too praising of him, but he was very strong in that game up against the Italians. For a man that normally gets 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the game when Malcolm Marx eventually makes his way from the field, playing him the 80 minutes there, he thoroughly stepped up and got his lineouts right. He made some great decisions, won a turnover in the breakdown. And for me, behind Valimza, I would say he was probably one of the top 3 next players for the Springboks out there on the field. But we move on to the rest of my forwards. I will mention I've got that 6-2 kind of split in this scenario. I've got number 19, Arges Neyman, number 20, Andre Esterhuizen, and number 21, Kwagga Smith. So deciding to still play Andre Esterhuizen as a hybrid player. Now, of course, Kwagga and Andre could be the other way around. Maybe Andre Esterhuizen plays 21, but I believe he has been playing 20 so far for the Springboks. And honestly, this is something that's going to backfire big time, but I'm feeling pretty confident about my team at the moment. I feel like this is as close as I'm ever going to be to getting a Springbok side right. And Rassie's going to ruin it for me. He's going to do something weird. So I guess we should ask, what have you got?
I've got your friend Arges Neyman on the 18 again.
On the 18, okay. Fair enough.
I've got Kwagga Smith on the 19.
Okay.
And I've got Andre Esterhuizen on the 20.
Is that the last of your forwards?
I got Malcolm Verstappen on the 21.
Okay, adding the additional one. Okay, I can see what you're doing there.
I think Malcolm Verstappen, he can play more than one position. I think at the moment, we saw it on the weekend. I mean, even the changes that Rassie was making, because he was bringing on players very early, taking them back off, bringing them on late again. I thought, he was trying to counter that red card. And like we said, I'm thinking what Rassie's going to do. And Rassie always does something crazy. And then, so I've got that at the moment for me. I think we're going to go pack heavy. We're looking at our wingers and our centers and stuff like that. I think Kurt Lee can play through. I think Jason can play through. I think Jesse Krill can play the whole game. So can Dia Linders. I don't think we're going to make a lot of changes on that side of the field. I think we're going to make more of our changes in our pack. I think we're going to get closer to what the bomb squad was. I think we're going to be closer to a bomb squad than games beforehand.
Like you mentioned, Rassie, I think that last game up against the Italians was the most reactive coaching in terms of substitutions we've ever seen. Yeah. Early on making that change, Ben Jason Dixon coming off the field, that was for Ruan which was the right decision to make because it gave you that extra lock. Then from there, we did see I believe was it Bowen Fenter or Zachary Porthen first? They were actually both very close together. I think it may have been Bowen who went off, and then of course we saw Gerhard go off the field with that HIA, so that brought Bowen Fenter back on. We saw Andre Esterhuizen. He was brought on for Edwald van der Merwe, wasn't he? Andre Esterhuizen. So adding him in as a back, it was very confusing for a little bit, but once we got them settled and once we worked out who was
Can you say my lineup is confusing? No, I'm just, look, me personally, I'd go a little bit different, but I'm trying to think what he's going to do. And I do think we'll go 6-2 split, obviously with Andre Esterhuizen being the hybrid that you can that can make it a 5-3 split. But I think I don't think we'll go 7-1, definitely not. But I can see a 6-2 here, and I think we do need, on those positions, we need the big boys because of the red cards and stuff. Like, these guys have been playing a lot of minutes as well. Some of them have been playing a lot of minutes and stuff like that. So I think, for me, it's 6-2. I'm going with those big boys, man.
And now your back replacements. Who are the, I guess, smaller players that you've gone with?
I've got two of them. That's Grant Williams and Manie Lebok.
Perfect. Yep, that's exactly what I've got in this scenario. I just feel like they've been too strong of a duo to leave out of this contest.
Everybody's telling me I'm the new president of Manie Lebok fan club. I mean, I've just thought Manie Lebok has been sensational. I mean, he gets a lot of stick, and no, he has become this off the bench impact player it's unbelievable. I kind of feel for him because as a rugby player, he probably would like to start more games, but he's so valuable coming off the bench. What he can do, his speed. I mean, those cross-field kicks. If you go Pollard, Sasha, and him, I think he's got the best cross-field kicks of the three. All Pollard fans are going to slate me now, I know it, but it is what it, I just think Manie brings something special to the team, and I like him. I really do.
So I guess to try and get those Andre Pollard fans back on your side, what are the chances we do see Andre Pollard in that number 23 jersey under Rassie here after the way that he played up against the Italians? Do you see any way that they would have him late up against the Irish to just try and fully secure that game if it was going to be close? Or do you expect them to have already done the job by that stage to then be able to increase that attacking output with Manie Lebok?
Well, if we look back at all the South African games of late, I mean, let's start off with the Welling, even with the one in Eden Park where we lost. The second half is where we have come alive. In every game, Eden Park, Wellington, the first one against the Argentinians, okay, we did a good job in the beginning, but it's always been the last 25, 30 minutes where the Springboks are just destroying teams. And so you might be right, Pollard might be important in that last 30 minutes, depending if the game is tight up till then. I mean, but would you leave out Manie Lebok to put Pollard in now?
Oh, is that a question to me? I don't know. I don't know if I should answer that, but
you're trying to avoid controversy here.
Very good at sitting on the fence. I think that either way you're fine. We talked about it in that French game, how it wasn't necessary to have Andre Pollard in there. And in the early stages when it was close, we were taking a little bit of stick. People were saying, nah, they should have had Pollard out there. But then it's more of a, Rassie is the perfect example of a coach of saying, wait and see. Let me show you why I've made these selections. Because every time that happens, like you mentioned, those second halves come around and a game is close, and then South Africa just find that next gear. And Manie Lebok in that game up against the French, that was game-changing, the way that he was able to come off the bench and just completely rip through them. And we've seen him be able to do it in the starting lineup up against sides as well. So, yeah, I think that it just depends on what the tactics are from Rassie, and also depending on what the real big game plan of this bench is going to be. Because, we could see a 5-3 split perhaps. Maybe Andre Esterhuizen doesn't find himself off the bench this week. And then you have space for either a Kanan Moody or an Ethan Hooker. That's the slot in there too. But,
remember, he left Kwaka out of the French game.
True, although I think that was injury-based.
That was injury-based. But, I think a lot of people, what we got to understand is, if you have Pollard in there at the end, right? Everybody's talking about, this beautiful attacking rugby that we're playing and we're scoring a lot of tries and stuff like that, okay? That is based on Sasha starting and Manie coming off the bench, because we must probably, as a coaching staff, know their kicking is not on the same level as Pollard's. So then we do kick more for touch. We do go more for the scrums, for the lineouts. We do more of that stuff because we know, okay, we're trying to score a try and not. And with Pollard, you know that look, anything within the half of the opposition is basically 3 points. That changes the game plan. So if you've got Pollard on there, you must probably play a little bit more conservative rugby. If I can put that, is that the right word? Conservative. You'd kick more for poles. You'd try to control the scoreboard more. And you have Sasha and then maybe Marnie coming off the bench. You're more playing that expansive, free-flowing rugby that everybody seems to like about the Springboks at the moment. Look, it wouldn't surprise me at all. We're talking about Rassie making this team. Wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden Andre Pollard bloody starts the game. Nothing surprises me with the man anymore. I mean, he could come up with something that, you know, all of a sudden he could play. He could start Morne van der Berg. I don't know. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, he doesn't seem to be getting things wrong at the moment.
No, every game, even with the situations we have seen occur, they have still walked away with victories.
Yes.
And at the Springboks. I'm going to list you a little bit of a random backline here that I've just thought of, and I want to hear yes or no for possibility of it happening or perhaps whether or not you want to see it. You were talking about Pollard starting, and you've also mentioned throughout this year about the possibility of Sasha Feinberg and Ngume Zulu as the number 15. So we're going Pollard 10, Sasha 15, Valimza moves to 12, Moody plays 13. Any possibility in this scenario?
Why not? I mean, not what I would do, but then again, as you can see, I'm not Rassie. I mean, you know, he could throw that curveball in there for the Irish. I mean, could you imagine if you're an Irish coach? Rassie comes out late Thursday afternoon or whatever. He brings out that lineup. The whole week you must probably gone with our lineup, as most people would, as what we've said he was thinking of. You practice the whole week. You're looking at that lineup, and then Rassie comes out with that you've just mentioned. You'd be the coaching staff would be reading. We're like, oh, what the hell? We got to prepare. Take the game plan, throw it away. We've got to prepare something new. You know.
Well, it may just offer that little bit more attacking for Pollard too. I feel like that is all about trying to find that balance of working out how they can bring the best out of Pollard's vision and the way that he is able to attack alongside those X-factor players such as a Sasha. And then that also opens up the door for Marnie Libok to make his way still off the bench and give you that finish to the game too.
What if he starts Marnie?
Could happen. Maybe you go Marnie Libok starting 10, Sasha moves to 15, Valimza moves to 12, Kane and Moody go 13.
Yeah. You know, the good thing is, that is the great thing. The man has millions of options. It's kind of like trying to win the lottery. There's many options, you know. He's got all those options, and he does like to screw with the media and with the opposition players. Let's be honest. He likes to put those little changes in, and that's when we do these shows together, I'm always trying to think, where's Rassie trying to play with the people again? That's when I do my lineups. I try to like adding in extra hookers and stuff like that. I'm like, somewhere, has he ever brought out a team where you can say it's straightforward?
Not that I can think of.
No. Has there ever been a team that, I mean, let's be honest, this team against Italy, right? There's 60 million people living in South Africa. If you gave 60 million people a piece of paper and you said, write down your team for Italy, I think 60 million people, not one of us would have hit the same team that Rassie put out there.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think many people were picking Arge as the number 18, were they?
No. So I got him this week as 18. You see, I'm trying to jump on the bandwagon here, but I can, you know, you never know. You never know. You just don't know with them. But I think it's going to be a cracking game.
Yeah.
I think it could be one of the better games of these autumn internationals, as we call them. But South Africa's got actually in a good position. We can't lose the number one spot, is kind of the way I figured it out. Because even if England win, they can't make up, almost 4 points. And I don't think, all respect to you, Welsh, you're great rugby nation, you just won a game. I don't think we lose to Wales. I don't care who we play. So I think basically job done is what we wanted. We wanted to keep that number one spot for the 3rd of December. It's on the 3rd of December already, that draw. I'm looking forward to that. But I think other teams have got more problems at the moment. I mean, New Zealand could drop out of the second spot, but again, you got Wales this week, and I don't think you lose that one either. But you can't pick up any points.
No, that's true. I think that someone who I'm quite intrigued about watching is actually the French, because if Australia can somehow sort out what is going wrong. Of course, currently 3 matches lost in a row for November. If they were to win that game by 16 points, no matter what happens in Argentina versus England, France would drop to 7th in the world rankings if that was to happen, which is quite a massive drop. But the benefit of where Australia is at the moment, this sounds really bad to say, but I actually hope they lose to the French because of the fact that that gives us an absolutely incredible, probably opening fixture of the next World Cup. They will have to play someone inside of that top 6, so whether it's going to be New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, France, England, Ireland, like all of those matches will be absolutely must-see, and it's the type of match like we saw in 2023 with that France versus New Zealand opening contest. Now, that's the game to really get everyone fired up. Of course, that one didn't go well for the Kiwis there, but
I like the way you're thinking. But look, the French didn't look that great against the Fijians. The Fijians played really well on the weekend.
That's true. And I think that we saw probably the perfect example in that game, as well as the match for Scotland-Argentina. No matter what winning margin you think you are going up by, 21 points seemed like it should have been enough in multiple matches, yet all those sides ended up almost getting caught up with.
Yeah.
And in some cases, getting caught.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at these internationals now over this period. I mean, I think even though Italy lost in the weekend, I think Italy's played good games. I think Argentina's played good games. I've been impressed with Fiji. I mean, even when they played against England. I thought they played phenomenally well. I mean, I think we can have good games at the Rugby World Cup. But like you say, if Australia were to drop to 7th, that would set up a real nice opening game. Because that would be the group second, Australia against one of the group winners. Now the question is, do you want Australia against Argentina in the opener? Maybe not, but New Zealand, Australia, England. Wouldn't Australia, England be a great opener? I mean, kind of like the Ashes of rugby somehow. That'd be phenomenal, man. That'd be phenomenal.
Definitely with what happened in 2003 as well. I feel like that would be just a full circle kind of moment for those two sides. Hopefully it happens. I feel like we'd end up talking about international rugby for about an hour here if we didn't cut this off. So we better do an outro before the people get absolutely sick of us. But nonetheless, we do thank you all very much for tuning in. Of course, let us know who you think Rassie will be selecting in the comments down below. Also, just to let you know again, Thursday, when we are seeing this site being announced, and as soon as it is, of course, we will have it up on the channel. Be sure to check out Vic from Vic and Vern Sports Chat. Those men have got plenty of streams, plenty of videos, all coming out based around rugby and sporting all around the world, so be sure to check that out too. But thank you all very much for watching. We are going to probably chat again about international rugby straight after this finishes, and we will see you all for the next one.
Enjoy, guys.